Well, Don, I'm not sure, to be honest. And I think at this point, the NFL hasn't yet made any kind of statement stating that the Patriots have done anything wrong. We've seen rumors that 11 of the 12 footballs may have been underinflated, but until there's really a finding of fact, until there's a finding of fault, it's difficult to say whether the Patriots did anything wrong and who on the Patriots may have made the mistake. So when Tom Brady said he doesn't think he's a cheater, to me, I'm not as critical of that statement because I think he's saying, let's wait to see if somebody maybe else on the team did something wrong and that there would be perhaps guilt by association for him. So I want to give him the benefit of the doubt. I know there are many saying that they don't believe him. I'm not a former quarterback, so I can't speak to what it means to be a quarterback in the huddle and whether or not a quarterback would detect that and then have a duty to report that the ball doesn't seem as heavy. To me, there are a lot of questions, and I think it's too early to pin the blame on anyone.
But his reputation is very important to him.
Oh, no question. Absolutely. This is a player, Don, that we know that he has political aspirations after his Patriots career ends. This is somebody who many expect will perhaps run for the Senate one day. You know, some have said, well, look, other players have gotten into trouble and they've become broadcasters. Someone like Ray Lewis, perhaps. Well, Tom Brady has, I think, a different goal, and that would be to be revered, to be respected. And if it's possible that he's lying and he's caught, that to me would be very damaging to his reputation.
Well, Bram, you thought, Michael said maybe someone else on the team might take some responsibility, but you thought that there was a chance that Brady was going to take responsibility today.
I did. I actually thought he might say, I do like the balls to be a little less inflated than the typical full inflation standard. However, I never told anybody to do it below what would be legal in play. That's what I thought he might say today, but that would be kind of a tacit admission of doing something wrong. I also don't think he snuck into the equipment room with a pump and deflated the ball. So,
or with a pen. Let's listen to him, and then we can talk more, Bram.
I didn't alter the ball in any way. I have a process that I go through before every game where I go in and I pick the balls that I want to, the footballs that I want to use for the game. Our equipment guys do a great job of breaking the balls in. They have the process that they go through. When I pick those footballs out, at that point, to me, they're perfect. I don't want anyone touching the balls after that. I don't want anyone rubbing them, putting any air in them, taking any air out. To me, those balls are perfect, and that's what I expect when I show up on the field.
Hey, that's the way he wants it. So, but he never said, did he say, Bram, like, I never told him, that I like underinflated balls or to underinflate the balls?
I think that's the question that wasn't asked today.
Yeah.
Did you not instruct necessarily to do something illegal here, but have you told them the specifications that you like? And that not necessarily to go below what is the NFL standard to get the team in trouble, and maybe someone took that the wrong way, or someone maybe have just made a mistake and underinflated them to a point that got them in trouble. And we have to mention this too. They played the Colts earlier in the year. The Colts apparently were aware that this could be an issue, and it became an issue later because they thought it might be. Yeah. So, therefore, it would suggest that this is the type of ball he likes to play with, and in most cases, it probably is right on the line of being legal, and in this particular case, it probably wasn't. But I'm not going to go far enough to say Tom Brady did it. Yeah. I just can't leap to that conclusion that he did that.
The best television that you're not saying, you said Pete's expression over here when he's talking about those things.
Good stuff, man.
I know. Okay, so we'll go long. We've got two balls here.
All right.
One's normal size, inflated, right? Yep. The normal PSI,
legal.
Whatever it's supposed to be legal, and one is underinflated. I'm not going to tell you which one.
Okay.
And
I'm going to catch
So head over there. You're
All
going to catch them. And then you're going to catch. All right?
All right.
All right. Keep both of them. Catch both.
All right, hold on.
All right. So grab which one. Grab which one you think. Tell me which one you think
no
is
doubt
the
it's
under.
this one.
Okay.
Ball one.
After the break, we'll tell you if you're right.